Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, thousands of protesters chant "Pay back the money" as South Africa's highest court hears a case against President Jacob Zuma. He's accused of breaking the law and dragging his heels over reimbursing millions in public cash spent on his private pad. Also, despite assurances from Nigeria's government that it's safe to return to some of the territories formerly overrun by Boko Haram, many of those forced out remain sceptical. And I speak to Edgar Lungu, Zambia's president, headed to France this week, hoping to woo investors. He's already in an election year, just 12 months after taking up office, and he tells me that he's confident that he and his nation are a safe bet. Thousands of protesters chanted "Pay back the money" outside of South Africa's highest court on Tuesday as it heard a case against President Jacob Zuma. Now, he's accused of violating the constitution after $20 million worth of state money was spent on doing up his private home. The suit was brought by opposition parties furious that Zuma's dragged his feet over state watchdog body's recommendation that he reimburse some of the cash. Well, last week he rolled back on an earlier refusal, saying that he would give back some of the money. But his critics say that's not good enough. Aisha Ishmael joins us with more.
Over the past 2 years, we've seen unprecedented protest action against President Jacob Zuma. We've seen civil society organizations protesting. Students last year took to the union buildings to protest against Jacob Zuma. And of course, last year, after he fired a very competent Minister of Finance, we saw the formation of the Zuma Must Fall movement. And on Thursday, a number of civil society organizations, NGOs, and opposition parties were granted permission to march on Parliament before President Jacob Zuma makes his State of the Nation address.
Now, Kenya has qualified a statement by the head of its Olympic Committee that suggested its team might not head to the Rio Games because of concerns over the spread of Zika. The mosquito-borne virus is widespread in Brazil, and on Tuesday, the Kenyan Olympic chief said that he wouldn't risk sending his athletes to the South American tournament. The committee later played down the comments, saying that it's too soon to decide on the dangers. Zika has been linked to birth defects. Brazil has been the most affected as the illness spreads through most of the Americas. A leading opposition politician has been found stabbed to death at his home in Accra. Joseph Boakie Dankwa was a member of the New Patriotic Party. He was also badly hurt when he was stabbed in 2010, an attack for which 3 people were prosecuted. Now, it's not clear whether his killing on Tuesday was connected to that earlier attack. Violence against politicians are rare in Ghana, and Boakie Dankwa's NPP party says that the motivation for his murder is irrelevant.
I know that in Ghana, any listing, they put in some political attacks. We don't want to do that. We are saying that this is a crime committed, it's criminal, and it needs a lot of homicide investigations into the matter. And we want to call on government, and especially the investigating authorities, the BNI, the CID, and the Ghana Police Force, to go into the matter so that whatever it is, we'll be able to arrest the perpetrators.
Well, since Nigeria's government declared last November that it had largely won the fight against Boko Haram, dozens have been killed in extremist raids. Over 6 years of violence has displaced millions of people. Despite assurances from Abuja that it's safe to return to some of the formerly overrun territories, many of those forced out by the dangers remain sceptical.
Thousands of displaced people have taken refuge here in this camp in Maiduguri. They fled attacks committed by Boko Haram that are multiplying across the region. This man fled the city of Baga when the militant group attacked. In the chaos, he was separated from his wife, but he later found her in the camp.
If no measures are taken, how can I go back? How can I take myself to death? Only when Baga is secure and everything has been put back in place, that's when I'll go back.
Still, some return to their villages, hoping to pick up the pieces of their former lives. When they arrive, they find ruins and a very different population.
Boko Haram are in my village. People fled. My child died. My husband was killed. If our people return with Boko Haram everywhere in my village, how will we get in? Our village is full of Boko Haram.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari claims government forces are beating Boko Haram, but many areas remain under siege. Victory could be a long way off. For most, the only option is to stay in the camps.
Reason why they don't want to go home because their house has been burned. They don't have anything. Even there are some that they left and they came back due to lack of food.
Boko Haram attacks have left at least 17,000 dead and more than 2.6 million people displaced within Nigeria. And more challenges lie ahead, as the country has little money for reconstruction and resettlement.
Well, Zambia's President Edgar Lungu was in France this week to drum up investment and boost bilateral ties. Lungu took over running the country just last January in elections that followed the death in 2014 of his predecessor, Michael Sata. Well, earlier he told me that he's confident that he'll get the backing he needs to be re-elected in August polls.
Zambians voted for the PF government in 2011 on the basis of the promises we made that is empowering the Zambian people and uplifting them from their poverty levels into a middle-income group. And I think I've walked the talk in that respect because all the projects which were left hanging by my late president, may so rest in peace, I've carried them on. And now as I go forward, it will just be pointing out that this we have accomplished this and that and that. Bearing in mind the challenges, of course, that we have encountered. And I was a non-entity at the time, but I think I've made enough mark to be confident that Zambians repose their confidence in the right person, and therefore there is no reason for me to worry about the elections which are coming. You should come to Zambia in August and see for yourself how fair, how democratic, and what we have achieved.
Definitely, Zambia's strong democratic tradition is one of the things that's going to make things easier for you on this trip to try and boost bilateral ties with France, try to encourage more investment. But on the other hand, the country has seen a pretty turbulent economic year, particularly with the drop in the price of copper. There's been a lot of encouragement for you to diversify your economy. Have any steps been taken in this direction?
I think that if people had learned their lessons in years past, we wouldn't be where we are. So what I've said is, yes, let's leave the mines. When the mines bloom and blossom, that's good. But we will not abandon agriculture. We will not abandon other sectors such as tourism, infrastructure development, manufacturing, and value addition. You know, the climatic change has not been kind to us, but I think it has given us a chance to wake up. And we are saying that we need to diversify our source of energy, because it's been hydro through and through, because we've been blessed with enough rains, but not anymore. So we are looking at solar energy. What other forms of energy are there? Let's exploit them. Zambia is open for so many opportunities for investors, but they have to come and then we discuss the terms so that we work together. It's not just about the investor winning, but it's a win-win situation we want to achieve, because in the past, people have invested and walked away with everything. We don't want to be exporting jobs. We want to export value additional products. In other words, jobs should remain in Zambia so that Zambians can benefit from our resources. And I think most people buy into that.
Well, one of the other big issues that arguably might be of concern to potential investors is Zambia's ongoing energy crisis. That in itself has been fed into by climate change. Now, but we saw this year a planned hike in energy tariffs rolled back. Can the country afford that, bearing in mind that the extra money that would have come from that energy hike could have been reinvested into the ailing power sector?
I thought that would come up. But, but let me assure you that there was no rolling back. When I spoke on the energy sector, I said that we are, migrating towards cost-reflective tariffs. And that means that it's a gradual process until we get to a point where the producer of energy is able to get a return on his investment. But what happened is my colleagues just woke up one night and bang, they were 300% up. Surely that's not how you do it. So there has been no abandonment or rolling back of the proposed increase on tariffs, but we will gradually implement them to a point where the consumer and the other beneficiaries of electricity will not be unjustifiably, hound out of business. Because They didn't budget for that increase. So going forward, we expect the energy regulators and others, stakeholders in this game, to start upping it up slowly until we get to commensurate levels where investors will be attracted to invest in Zambia. And this is what I've been discussing with the energy investors who have got the potential or interest to serve in Zambia.
Zambian President Edgar Lungu there speaking to me a little earlier on. Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and please do so again if you can. Take care.
Down to Earth.
This week we're down to earth in England. This isn't just a casual walk along London's River Thames. I'm with an award-winning university group who have a goal to clean up the world's dirtiest waterways. They think they can make plastic disappear. Sounds like magic, but it's just the type of project that could be possible under a radical new way of doing science.
Down to Earth on France 24 and France24.com.